Okay, Sefer HaMizvot Rambam for our Siyum, Misvot Aseh. We're up to Mizvah Yud Aleph, Mizvah number 11. Hishi Sivanu Lilmod Torah Ulalamedah. V'zeu Nikra Tamud Torah. So the Rambam bunches together the Mizvot, or the activities of learning Torah and teaching Torah into one. He labels it as Talmud Torah. And the source, Vihu Omro Vishinnantam Lebanecha. In Kiryat Shema, it says Vishinnantam, which apparently is a synonym for to teach your children. Right, so does that cover everyone? V'chatu b'sifrei, the Midrash Halakha teaches us, Lebanecha elu ha-talmidim, shal-talmidim chiryum banim, shne'emar v'yiseu b'nei nebi'im. So we know through other sources that when it says banecha lav dafka, meaning not necessarily only your children, but that is a broader catchphrase that captures all students as well, meaning anyone who you teach. And we know that in the Navi, there's a source that Talmidim are called, students are called banim. In different places, they're called children. So Vishinnan Tam Lebanecha really means and teach any other Jew Torah. V'sham ne'emar Vishinnan Tam Shihiyu Mechudadim Betoch Picha. And there's another derasha that Hachamim made on the word Vishinnan Tam for the terminology Shinun, which means sharp. And they said that Divrei Torah should be literally Mechudadim, sharp or fluent in your mouth. When someone asks you a question, you should be fluent enough in the subject, you should be proficient. And this really means all Torah subject area, so that when someone asks you something, you're not stuttering, you're not hesitating. You are giving a clear, coherent answer and an immediate answer. Vishinnan Tam, that's the ultimate way to respond, the ultimate way to teach Torah clearly, with proficiency and with knowledge. And that's all included in this Mizvah, teaching Torah. There are a number of other mentionings in different presentations of this same Mizvah. For instance, Umadtem va'asitem lema'an yilmedun. Those are two examples. And so many places in the Gemara do they discuss not just the obligation of teaching Torah, but the motivation and inspiration that someone should have engaged in that mizvah. Now the Rambam did not discuss the learning aspect of the mizvah, but the assumption is that teaching is obviously a product of learning, and therefore it's all included. And of course, when you teach, on the other side, there's a learner as well. So, when there's more than one person involved, you always have teaching and learning going on. V'hanashim en hayavot ba ma'amaro u'madtem otan benechem. Women are not obligated in the Mizvah of Talmud Torah. The proof of that is the pasuk that says you should teach benechem, your sons. Amru Hachamim derived benechem v'lo benotechem, as opposed to your daughters. K'moshit fa'ed b'gemara. Now we do know from the poskim that it is a Mizvah and super appropriate for women to learn the halachot that are relevant to them, which are most halachot, and to learn to be proficient in Mikra, in Tanakh, and Torah Shebechtav as well. And therefore, of course, we have educational institutions that are educating our women as well. But it's just not a Torah command obligation for them to learn. Mizvah Yud Bet 12. We're counting distinctly, as the Rambam will explain in the next Mizvah. Tefillin Shel Rosh is a Mizvah in and of itself. What's the source? Of course, we know. Hu Omro v'harilu totafot ben einecha u'chva nechbal ze asivui arba'a pa'amim. 4 times in the Torah does it mention the obligation of tefillin. And of course, we say them in the morning. 2 of them are in Kriyat Shema, and 2 of them are, the reason why we say the paragraphs of Vaydaber and Vahaya is because they have tefillin in those paragraphs. And of course, those are the paragraphs that are written in our tefillin themselves. The 4 different sources for the mitzvah and obligation of wearing tefillin. Here specifically, we're talking about tefillin shel rosh. But of course, the next mitzvah, Yud Gimel, number 13, Ki shesivanu la'niyat tefillin shel yad, is the other. Its twin mitzvah is tefillin of the arm. And of course, the sources, V'hu omro ukshartam leot al yadecha uchvad nichpal ze'asav v'yad ba'ad pa'amim. There are 4 different mentionings, the very same 4 sources that command us in tefillin shel rosh of the head, also command us of tefillin shel yad, 2 in Shema and Vaydaber and Vahaya. V'hara'aya. Now the Rambam is now going to spend the rest of this mitzvah proving that it's actually 2 mitzvot and not 1 big mitzvah called tefillin. And here we go. V'hara'aya. The proof is al hayot tefillin shel rosh v'shel yad shtei mitzvot, that there are 2 separate mitzvot. Umram beGemara. The Gemara said asad hatema. We're out of context now, but there's a question. The Gemara was surprised. The Gemara said was addressing mimishi yachshov shetefillin shel rosh v'shel yad lo yunach ehad mehem bilti ha'acher ela im shetehem yachad. They were surprised that you may think, an opinion who may think, that if you only adorn one of them without the other, that you can't fulfill the mitzvah, that only if you put them both on at the same time. That's what they were surprised at. And here's the quote from the Gemara. The Gemara said, a person has 2 mitzvot, he shouldn't at least do 1. Kilomar, what the Gemara mean to say? Of course, you'll do 1 if you have the opportunity. Of course, you should do the mitzvah of which you have the opportunity to perform. And the Gemara intended to say, and therefore, adorn either one that you have the opportunity to wear. From here, it's clear that they call these tefillin 2 separate mitzvot. And both of these mitzvot are not obligatory for women. Because when in one of the 4 sources, when it gives the reason for the obligation of wearing tefillin, the Torah says, so that the Torah of Hashem will be in your mouth. In other words, tefillin serves as a constant reminder for more than one thing, but one of them is the idea of our connection and obligation for limud Torah. V'nashim enan hayavot b'talmud Torah. And we know that women are not obligated in Talmud Torah, technically, as we just said. And so for that reason, they're not obligated in tefillin, because that's one of the objectives for wearing tefillin. V'chen baru b'mechilta. And the Midrash echoes this idea as well. And therefore, of course, no coincidence that the Rambam juxtaposed the mitzvah of Talmud Torah with the mitzvah of tefillin. And of course, we're still in the realm, we're segueing sort of out of the realm of mitzvot, of connection to Hashem, which we said with Kriyat Shema, but that is still in the realm of mitzvot of, verbally connecting to Hashem, Talmud Torah, of course, which then brought us to another mitzvah that is Talmud Torah embedded in it, which is the tefillin, but it goes well with 2 mitzvot earlier, which is Kriyat Shema. It's a mitzvah of reminder, a mitzvah, it's another constant mitzvah, as all of Kriyat Shema, Talmud Torah, and tefillin are. Constant mitzvot, and mitzvot of connection, and mitzvot of reminding us of our obligations and on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The source for all the laws of tefillin are in Masechet, ironically, Masechet Menachot, which is reserved as Masechet to discuss the flower offering, Korbanot, but in there you have the mitzvot of tefillin discussed, also mezuzah as well. We'll stop here. Misvot 13. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.